Good morning. Good morning. It's really an honor to be able to introduce today's keynote speaker, Kevin Worley. Kevin's a graduate of Jefferson High School in Cedar Rapids and Webster University in St. Louis. Kevin has an extensive portfolio of performance credits that began with being immersed in fine arts in high school. He was active in choir, show choir, which is where he started his amazing dancing skills, speech, and of course theater. In fact, I cast Kevin in his first and last shows in high school. I think we have a picture of this here. There we go. High school, 1994 to 1997. He began as a child among the townspeople and the diviners. Let me share a couple of vintage photos here. If you look upstage center in that little guy up there in the middle of the stage on the platform, that's Kevin. And this one, you can see him in the middle there of those show choir guys. He's the little guy in the middle. He was quite a little guy there. The last show he did was he played the lead player in Pippin, which was a delightful show, and it certainly gave us a chance to show Kevin's talents as a performer and a dancer. After graduation, what do we have next here? Broadway. Okay. After graduation, he did a switch, a pivot in his career path. Kevin had always intended to be an architect. And when he graduated, he decided he wanted to go into acting. And no path in the theater lacks disappointment. And when he was not accepted at his first choice school, University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music, or CCM, he was really disappointed. And I suggested to him, Kevin, why don't you apply to Webster University? And he was accepted there. Webster's in St. Louis. And that proved to be a life-changing move. He did his first professional theater during summers at St. Louis at the Muni, and after graduation he moved to New York and his Broadway debut in 42nd Street. Kevin performed for 17 years on tour and in regional shows, and in 10 Broadway shows, including 5 original casts and cast recording. Here are a few photos of his professional years. That should be his headshot. Oh. There we go, okay. That's his headshot that I think he said was the only one he used. For a pretty good shot, I'd hire that guy. This should be a photo of the company chorus line with Mario Lopez. Here's a shot of the dancing crew in Bullets Over Broadway. Kevin is down left center in a brown suit. And now a couple shots of Kevin in the Legacy Row. The Legacy Row, formerly known as the Gypsy Row, is given to an ensemble member with the most Broadway credits on opening night. There's a big ceremony, and it's a tradition for the actor who circles the stage 3 times and then visits every dressing room wearing the robe prior to the opening curtain. It's a symbol of consistency, reliability within a very unstable world. And what an honor for Kevin to get to wear the Legacy robe. We were talking this morning about that. He said, yeah, I kept thinking, I'm going to get that, I'm going to get to wear it, and somebody else would have it. I'm going to get to wear it. And he thought he might not ever get to, but he did, and what a proud moment for him. Life moves on, and Kevin met his future wife, Denise, on tour. And 4 years ago, he transitioned from theater to a career that allows him to have time to fully focus on his family. He and Denise have 2 boys, and he's now a certified financial planner in New Jersey. I'm sure I speak for your teachers and your troop directors when I say that we all take great pride in the success of our students. And believe me, your teachers will take great pride in your success. That's what they look forward to do. That's how they celebrate what they've been able to do as a teacher. And so, truly, with a great amount of pride, I introduce to you my friend and my student, Kevin Worley.
Little guy in the middle up here. This is great. Now that that's gone, I can see everybody. Thank you very much, Libby. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. Good morning. It is truly an honor to be here today and share with you some of the experiences and lessons that I learned in my years in the theater. Not only helped me earn great success as an actor, but also set me up for success in the business world, in my second act, as you will. Making a name for yourself on Broadway is a dream come true. Literally a dream come true. But make no mistake about it, as I talked with Mike this morning about a little bit, it is not an easy road. It's ultra competitive. It is emotionally exhausting in every way, shape, and form, good and bad, and relentlessly demanding. I consider myself so fortunate to have had the opportunities that I had: national tours, world premieres, Broadway opening nights, original casts, Good Morning America, Today Show, Tony Awards, standing alone on stage in front of a 27-piece orchestra, singing a solo for 1,400 people. I mean, not everybody gets to do that. Dreams literally coming true. Little guy in the middle with dreams who desperately wanted that lead role in that first picture, but ended up as a townsperson up center. Didn't give up, and I found myself right down center many, many times on the biggest stages in the world. What you can never be afraid of in life is being honest with yourself about what brings you joy. Okay? Very important thing to know. It seems simple, right? What do you do after 22 years of defining yourself as this thing, and then over time realizing that maybe that thing isn't your thing anymore and you want something else? That's where my story takes a dramatic turn. But what's interesting is that whenever I start telling the story, I don't begin with any of the stuff that I just listed, not the debuts, my first time on stage as an even littler guy playing Tweedledum at Taft Middle School in Cedar Rapids when I was in 7th grade. Not about turning down what would have been my 11th Broadway show to go back to school and completely change my life. I don't start there. I always start my story by talking about how incredible the arts programs in the Iowa public school system are, and how fortunate I was to be immersed in that community when I was a kid. I mean that 100%. That is where I always start my story. Teachers and directors who demanded excellence and gave us every tool we needed to achieve it. And fellow students who were all striving for the same glory and pushed me to grow and learn every day. Mr. Pikes and Bob Geiger, mounting huge productions, Hello Dolly, West Side Story, Meet Me in St. Louis, giving us freedom to explore in a safe environment, but also guiding us and helping us be comfortable and excited about what we were doing. Choir and show choir with Dr. Peter Eklund and Carol Trello challenged us with material that was so far beyond us with a simple expectation. Do it. Then do it again, and then do it again better. Emblazoned on the wall in the choir room at Jefferson, above the mirrors, was a phrase: practice does not make perfect, perfect practice makes perfect. The pursuit of perfection is a fool's errand. I can tell you that right now, because I've been trying for years and years and years. It can't be achieved. But the pursuit of optimum personal performance and the willingness to work and work until you've achieved it is one of the keys to success in any arena, and that is what I and everyone around me should be empowered to do from a very young age. What I'm saying is, don't strive to be perfect. What is perfect? Strive to always do your absolute personal best at whatever it is you're doing in that particular moment. You'll get so much closer to perfection and have a hell of a lot more fun doing it if you have that mindset than you will trying to achieve perfection or some preconceived idea of what others expect you to do. Go to sleep every night this much better than you woke up that morning in some way. Lead by example, lead by dedication, lead by building others up and challenging them to achieve more than they could have imagined they were capable of, and let their achievements inspire you to work harder and celebrate those achievements for yourself and for your friends. Lead with kindness. Leadership is why we're here today. Just rattle off a bunch of different ways that you can be a great leader. Ways that maybe you didn't expect me to say. Lead with kindness, lead with dedication. I take a very different perspective, I think, of the generic leadership. I think the world needs a lot more of these things that have kind of maybe disappeared somewhat over the years. How does a life in the arts specifically set you up to be a leader? Believe it or not, a lot of the skills that are required to be a great artist in any genre of art are the same skills required to be an excellent leader. More specifically, one simple act that everybody, every great artist, every great leader, every great human must do. Listen. A great actor must listen to his team partner. A great designer must listen to their director. A great musician must listen to the conductor. And every one of those relationships has to work in reverse as well. You must listen to each other. Cannot be a great director if you don't listen to your team. Cannot be a great stage manager if you don't listen to your actors. Don't confuse listening with obeying. I'm not telling you to listen and obey. I mean listening, truly listening, processing, absorbing, and then making a calculated decision based on what you've taken in, while allowing yourself to be open to the insight of the other person, but also staying true to your own conviction. Really think, collaborate. Don't lose yourself in the listening, but also don't pretend to listen without really hearing. One way to ensure that you do this: never assume that you are the smartest person in the room. And say that again. Never assume that you are the smartest person in the room. There is something to be learned from every person and every experience that you have every day. Live in the curiosity and let it make you better, more well-rounded people. Never assume that you are the smartest person in the room. Did I say that already? Never assume that. Wouldn't the world be a better place today if we all took the time to listen, absorb, collaborate? Maybe we don't see enough of that in the world today. I certainly think that I don't see enough of it in the world. But I always saw it inside a theater when great things were happening. Collaboration, listening, respect. Most great leaders surround themselves with the smartest people in the room. They're not afraid to utilize those people to help them make decisive decisions. But another skill that every person in the arts also must possess is the ability to make bold and brave choices. Right? Be big, be bold. We've all seen performances where an actor or performer wasn't truly committed or just wasn't doing something that's very interesting. And we've all seen that. But then you've also seen performances where somebody is making huge, dangerous choices, and it's exhilarating to watch. The phrase, "You've got the audience in the palm of your hand." You've all been in a theater where you're on the edge of your seat, and you know what that's like. And that's because that person is immersed, and they are lost in that moment, and they're living in it, fully committed. It's exhilarating to watch that kind of performance. Leadership is no different. Be big, be bold, take risks. My wife, my lovely wife Denise, she loves to tell our boys, fail forward. I love that idea. What other way is there to fail them forward? Towards your achievement. Continually fail forward. Let me tell you, life is full of failure. And I've had plenty of success, but I've had plenty of failure too. Especially if you're going to pursue the arts. I was very fortunate, as Mr. Pikes mentioned, some of my successes in the theater. 10 shows on Broadway, turned a couple of them down. But do you know how many shows I didn't do on Broadway? A lot. I heard no 20 times for every yes that I heard. And that's just the way it is. But it never stops me. Like I said, I went to bed that much better those days that I heard the no than I woke up that day. I learned something about myself. And I used it the next time I went in the room and tried to do a little bit better. And try to be perfect, just try to do a little bit better. And if I could walk out of that room knowing that I did my best in that moment, that's all I can control. Don't get yourself too worked up about things you can't control. There's enough things to worry about in the world. Okay? Don't get lost in that. Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we often might win by fearing to attempt. It's a William Shakespeare line. I love it. Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we often might win by fearing to attempt. Or, as it was said to me right before a performance at Town Hall in New York, Don't waste this moment on fear. Think about that for a moment. What an amazingly simple and powerful statement. Don't waste this moment on fear. How often do you find yourself afraid of a moment? Whatever it might be. Walking into a new school, a new classroom, voicing your opinion in a challenging conversation, singing a solo, doing a monologue, posting on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, putting a new outfit on to school. How often do you have that fear as the most vocal sound in your head? Whatever it might be, how much of your life is wasted on fear? Don't waste the moment on fear. Here's a great story about not wasting the moment on fear. When I joined On the Town on Broadway, I was there to stand by for the lead, Gaby, the Gene Kelly role, if you know the movie, or the show. And I also had to cover 13 other tracks. That was what they call a swing. So I had to learn 14 different roles in that show and be able to do them at any moment, any night, sometimes 2 at once. If there are enough people going, I do what they call a split track. I have to combine 2 roles, sometimes mid-show. Someone would go down. Kevin Worley, get into costume. Mikey Winslow is out, he hurts me. Terrifying. Don't waste that moment on fear. I had 6 days of rehearsal. I started on a Tuesday, which is the typical beginning of the work week for that type of production. And they were already running, so they were doing shows at night. I had some rehearsals during the day with the dance captain and the associate director, and I would watch the shows if they did them. So I had some rehearsal, but not a ton. We got to that first Saturday, so I'd been Tuesday, Wednesday, not even 6 days. Maybe I started on Monday, whatever it was. Friday night, the lead started to look and sound a little sick. My stage manager called me in her office that night and said, "Hey, if you had to go on tomorrow, could you do it?" I wasn't officially supposed to be ready to perform until the following Tuesday, a weekend. And I said, without missing a beat, yeah, let's go. Let's do it. So I went home, went over my script again, went over everything I could do to prepare, waited all Saturday morning for that call to come. It doesn't come. I get on the train, go into the city. There's Tony, he's doing the show. Great, fine. Of course, I watched carefully to make sure he didn't go down mid-show. And he didn't. And after the show, I was like, what's happening tonight? Second show, no, I'm in. So I said, all right, I've got a voice lesson uptown. I'm gonna go up Upper West Side, I'm gonna have my voice lesson. Grab a bite to eat, get on the train, go uptown. 6:05, my phone rings as I'm warming up with my voice teacher. It's Bonnie, my stage manager. And she said, get your ass on the train, you're going on. So I told my voice teacher, I said, I have to go. I grabbed my stuff, I went downtown. Did you see the show, the revival of On the Town? Nobody? Huge, huge production. And I had never danced with my leading lady. I had never sung with my 2 sailor friends, the leads. Don't waste that moment on fear. I had more fun that night than almost any other performance that I have ever had in my entire career. Didn't waste it on fear. I lived in that moment, and I had the time of my life. And by doing that, I won over that company essentially before I even arrived. I led with conviction. I led with humility. I allowed every person on that stage to help me at some point through that show, what we call shove with love. It's one of the swing's favorite phrases, shove with love. When you go out there with that much information in your head, and there's that many people on stage, and there's that much going on, the scenes moving, sets moving, costume changes, inevitably you're going to be in the wrong spot at some point, and when somebody just shove with love, you're supposed to be over here. And allow people to do that. Be humble enough to say, great, I'm doing the best I can, I'm supposed to be here, I'm going to be here. And I won them over. I didn't assume I was the smartest person in the room, even though I was leading the show. Collaborated, made bold choices. Fear will make you freeze. I found myself down center in front of that audience, alone on stage with that orchestra in front of me, and I was afraid. Breath doesn't go low enough, you can't hit the high note, you can't breathe through the phrase, you're not acting, you're kind of just saying lines. I did that. The worst, I didn't even have this written down, but it just kind of comes to me as I say this out loud. So that was one of the best moments of my acting career. Let me share with you one of the worst moments when I let fear take hold. I went in for Jersey Boys. and I was the little guy in the middle. So they looked at me, I sang "Can't Take My Eyes Off of You," and they were all, this is after the dance call. And they all kind of looking behind the table, and they said, "We want you to come back and read for Frankie." Awesome. Give me a packet of material, 30 pages long. I went away, I prepared, probably not as well as I should have, but I went back in, they said, want you to sing something in your falsetto. I'm a tenor. Tenors don't usually have the best falsettos, it's usually baritones. So I went back in and I sang "Big Girls Don't Cry." Sang "Big Girls Don't Cry." I started that song gripped with fear, and it was awful. It was horrendous, and I kind of hovered above myself as I kept on singing, and I started talking to myself as the song is going on. Horribly sung. And I'm saying, stop singing, say something about how bad this is, acknowledge the fact that you were aware of how poorly this audition is going, stop. But the real me just kept on singing, and we finished, and I had, like I said, a packet of 30 pages of scenes. And they were like, great, why don't we read Frankie 4, which is the only one-page scene in that packet of 30 pages. Very kind of them to let me read a scene. I read a scene, and I turned around to walk out, and I was like, stop and say something, stop and say something. Fear, froze me. Walked out that door, I sat down in the hallway, and I sat there for about 30 or 40 minutes. Not able to comprehend what just happened. Absolutely froze. Clearly didn't get the job. Thankfully, they saw enough in me that they brought me back. I ended up doing Jersey Boys, not at Frankie, but in the ensemble covering Bob, and I met my wife. So it was all meant to be, but that was fear taking hold. I let fear take hold, and it absolutely destroyed the moment. You may never get that moment again. I was fortunate enough that I did, but whatever it is, do not waste it on fear. Embrace the unknown, be confident in your preparation, and let yourself be authentically in the moment. I found my niche on the Broadway community as an understudy in swing. I mentioned that before. I made myself known as being reliable, triple threat. I was a strong enough dancer to be in the front of the ensemble, but I had enough singing and acting chops that I could play the lead. I'm convinced that's what made me hireable, was the fact that I had likability and leadership. Notice the order in which I put those. I had likability and leadership, not leadership and likability, not talent, leadership and likability. I had likability and leadership. I'm convinced the single most important thing for our society on the whole is for people to get back to being kind. The world, in my opinion right now, is not a very kind place in most respects. And I think we just need to get back to that. It's not hard. You hear a lot of people say, nice guys finish last. Well, I don't think that's true. It's a big difference between kindness and weakness. Don't forget that. It doesn't mean you can't be driven to be competitive, but there is a way to achieve, grow, and climb without stepping on people along the way. Directors and choreographers wanted me in their show because they could count on me to know my stuff and to be a great example for everyone around me of what a professional actor looks like. I was a leader without being the lead. I showed up early. I listened. I learned quickly. If I didn't get a step or a note, I stayed late to work on it. And then I came in early the next day to work on it again. I took pride in everything that I did on stage and off, and people noticed that. I first learned all of those things in high school theater and arts. Another quick story about not wasting a moment on fear. Mr. Price talked about my time in show choir at Jefferson, which arguably one of the most pivotal things that happened in my life. I auditioned for that group as a sophomore, which is not normal. Usually it's juniors and seniors, and I didn't get it. I was devastated. Thought I deserved it, but I was the little guy. I didn't really fit into the varsity group because I looked like I was still in middle school. But I didn't let that stop me. I didn't wallow in that disappointment. I joined the crew, and I went to the summer workshop for the choreographer. And I set the stage, and I did what they needed to do, but I stood in back and I learned. I'd never tap danced before. I had no idea. I never worn a pair of tap shoes. And they were working on sing, sing, sing. I just started learning in the back. Because I figured, what the hell? I'm here. Stage is set up. I got nothing else to do. I wanted to be in this anyway. I'll learn. So I start dancing in the back. 3 days go by, and in the middle of that next day, I see the choreographer lean over to Pete, and he says something, and he points to the back where I was, and I see Pete come up. They're all working, and Pete whispers in my ear, and he says, Andy just asked me why that little kid in the back who knows the choreography better than anybody on stage isn't in the group. And I looked at Pete, and I said, I don't know, Pete, I didn't put the list up, you did. And he said, get out there. And there I was, as a sophomore, I made it. It was amazing. I didn't let fear. I lived in that moment. I made a bold choice to do something to make myself better, even though I didn't have any idea what it would lead to. And that's the kind of leadership I think that you guys should be striving for. I'm eternally grateful for all those opportunities I had from high school to college. I had actually almost forgotten that you were the one, as I sat in a restaurant with you that night in Cincinnati when I didn't get accepted, and you told me about Webster. And I don't often thank you for that, but thank you. Another life-changing moment. Don't waste the moment on fear. I'm repeating myself a couple of times today. Don't waste the moment on fear. Don't assume you're the smartest person in the room. Lead with kindness. Lead with dedication. So what do you do when you start to doubt your choice in career? Had all the success in the world, everything was going right, people would kill to have my career, and something wasn't right. Had a wife, I had one kid, another kid on the way, but I leaned into that fear. I failed forward and explored instead of shying away from it. I had vulnerable conversations with many people just to try to find some direction about what it is that I was missing or feeling. And then I was offered another Broadway show, Aladdin. And when I told my agents for years, get me into Aladdin, I'll never have to audition again, I'll send my kids to college. I've worked with this director, I can do this, get me into Aladdin. They got me the audition, I went and I killed it. I didn't get it. Did the best I could, I didn't get it for whatever reason. I wasn't tall enough, I wasn't short enough, I wasn't dark enough, I wasn't whatever. I did the best I could, I didn't get it. I moved on. 3 weeks later, I got an email at 8 o'clock at night on a Thursday. Can you start tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock? Completely would have upended my life, my wife's life, my kids' life. That was the moment that I needed to say no. To finally be honest with myself and understand that I had lived 20-year-old Kevin's dreams, and it was incredible. And now I had 40-year-old Kevin's dreams. I wanted to be with my family for dinner. I wanted to have weekends off. I wanted to coach baseball. I didn't want to be taking a regional job. I didn't want to be forced to go on tour. I didn't want to be on the train every day when the kids are getting home from school so I can go do a show. Allowing myself the freedom to have those feelings and know that that's what's going to bring me joy in this moment. It doesn't mean that what I had before didn't matter. It just means that I'm accepting the fact that I'm a different person today than I was then. Since then, I have countless friends call me, ask me, how'd you do it? Why'd you do it? I say to all of them that as soon as I allowed myself that freedom to be honest about what brought me joy, there was no choice to be made. I'd lived, like I said, 20-year-old Kevin's dreams, but I was different now. I got busy working on my new dreams. The same way I worked on my old dreams. The same skills I talked about earlier have proven invaluable in my new profession. Complete 180, from tap dancing, downstage center on the Tony Awards, to managing portfolios and giving people financial advice. Couldn't be more similar. More distant, I should say. But that was a bit of not necessarily a Freudian slip, but there are similar: work ethic, listening, boldness, kindness, empathy, connection, all of those things that I learned in the theater transferred. I didn't think that anything would transfer. I was like, how can I possibly walk into a place of business and say, hey, give me a job. I was really successful over here and I'm a great guy. Give me a job. I had nothing. But I did. I had so much that people don't have today. They're lost in this. They're lost in this all the time. They can't do this. They call them soft skills. I hate that phrase. I get it. I understand what it means, as opposed to a hard skill, creating a spreadsheet. Soft skills, communicating, listening, caring. Those things are so important. And when you're in the arts, you have a unique opportunity to be great at those things, and they matter. They call me, at work, they call me the unicorn, which is ridiculous. They call me the unicorn because I'm really efficient, I'm really good at what I do, I'm kind when I do it, and I listen to people. It's not that hard to do. I don't know why they call me I don't know why. But those things are seriously lacking in our society today. Be those people. Okay? It's not hard. I was on the plane last night, good Lord. I was on the tarmac for 4 hours in Newark, first of all. I landed in Chicago at 10:30 and thankfully my parents were stubborn and drove Chicago to get me. So we got back at 2:30. But as we get off the train, I just struck up a conversation with the lady behind me. Oh boy, this was a crazy day. She just kind of looked at me. And we talked for 15 minutes about nothing. Just connected. And she had this great smile on her face. It was lovely to meet you. Have a safe drive home and good luck to you and your family. It's so simple, and yet so critically important to a healthy life. Get out of this. Do as much of this as you possibly can. One last tip. Travel, 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 travel. There's a huge, beautiful, and complicated world out there. Go out and see it. Different cultures, different traditions, different philosophies, theologies, culinary arts, performing arts, and on and on and on. Go see it. Experience it and learn from it. I can tell you from my own experience, I've been very fortunate to travel many places in the world. Go out and see it. It's stunning. I would argue that there has never been a truly great leader that was created in a vacuum, that didn't get out and explore and experience and talk to people and learn new things. It will change you for the better. It might not be a dramatic change, it might not be anything that you can really see happen, but it will change you. It gives you perspective, it opens your mind to the fact that there are millions of different ways to accomplish just about anything. And that is inspiring and humbling. That perspective allows you to put yourself in other people's shoes and be able to see beyond your own preconceived notions of what is right and wrong, good and bad. It allows you to see what's possible. Fail forward with enthusiasm and a thirst for knowledge, and you can be sure that there will be success ahead of you. Don't waste a moment on fear. Don't assume you're the smartest person in the room. Fail forward. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and speak with you. I hope you all heard something today that resonated with you and that you can take with you and help you along your journey to find your success and your joy. Thank you.